helpful and works for them. But the 5 senses is a real one too. That the beauty of it is you can do this anytime, like during the school day, and who's going to know? If you're just sitting in your chair, like picking a spot on the wall and just kind of letting your focused attention, or closing your eyes and letting yourself listen, or scanning your body as you feel the chair and feel your clothes, or you're eating lunch or something and you just put something in your mouth and just let it sit there and let that come into your awareness. So if you are finding yourself in an anxious state or something where you're like, I need to integrate a little bit, these are all little things that people can do. Because think about how self-conscious students would be about anybody seeing them doing something in school. These are just simple things that you can do just sitting there, and who's going to know? All right, so for our next one, I thought about not asking, but I just feel like I probably should. All right, we're all trained sex therapists, correct? Or at least to a certain level.
Yep.
So can I do the full version of this?
Yep, sure. We're adults.
Okay.
I'm an adult.
Good.
I'm more of a fictional adult than a functional adult, but I'm an adult.
I'm very proud that I'm an adult right now.
So we're all over 30?
No. That I am not. Sorry.
Yes. All right. Well, I remember first time doing this. I never ended up playing for my school, but I did some volleyball stuff. I love beach volleyball and court volleyball, and we were at this training thing, and they had us lay down on the ground and do this body scan. So when I first heard Siegel do this, I was like, oh, I remember doing that back in high school, for volleyball practice. So this might be one where if you have an opportunity to just kind of, let your body kind of stretch out. Because what I'm going to ask you to do is we're going to scan our body. So a lot of times, just like many other things, we don't pay attention to our emotions. We don't pay attention to our body. Like I was never taught emotional language. I was never taught to really pay attention to my body. That's why most of my life I got completely stuck up here. I look back at places that I came from, and my wife and I just kind of laugh and look at each other like, yep, heads on sticks. That's pretty much how that environment functions, and we've learned so much beyond that. And so this can be an exercise that just helps people get in touch with their body, and it's kind of a simple body scan that you can practice over time. So just kind of let yourself kind of stretch out if you can, or just find a way to be able to kind of walk through your body. You can, if you want to go on the ground and you want to lay out, go for it. Put your legs up on the wall, however you want to do this.
Where's the lavender oil?
Yeah.
Do I have any? No, I don't.
All right. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to walk you through your body. We're going to start at the top and external, and we're going to walk ourselves down our bodies, and then we're going to walk ourselves back up our bodies internally. Okay? So however you're comfortable, however you want to do this, I'd just like you to start by paying attention to your scalp. Just be aware of your head, be aware of your hair, skin and the muscles. You can walk yourself down your face a little bit. You can be aware of your eyes and your nose and your mouth and your chin. But just let yourself become aware of the different aspects of your head. As we move down, just let yourself become aware of your neck and your throat. Down to your shoulders. Just take a moment and walk down your arms from your upper arm to your lower arm, and down through your fingers. And then the same thing, letting yourself become aware of the skin and the muscles of your chest or your back, and then down to your stomach and your lower back. And now continue to go down your hips and your buttocks. Being aware of your upper legs, down to your knees and your calves. And then finally, your feet down through the bottom of your toes. Now we'll spend a minute working our way up our body. I'd like you to see if you can hold in your awareness the bones within your legs. Let yourself become aware of the bones in your legs. See if you can notice them and feel them. Then allow yourself to become aware of your genitals. As we move up, we're going to be focusing on the internal part of our body. So notice your internal organs, your liver, your colon, your intestines. Allow yourself to become aware of your lungs as they breathe. Notice your heart as it beats inside. Be aware of your esophagus and your vocal cords. And then finally notice and pay attention to your brain inside your head. As you're able, take one last deep breath. When you're ready, come back to the rest of us.
Absolutely horrible. It's like, hey, there's bones inside your body. I'm like, why are my teeth the only bones I have to scrub? Like, so that was not a pleasant experience for me.
I also was really focused on my teeth. And I hate teeth.
I hate teeth. I wish my dental phobia only made me scared of the dentist. It makes me horrified of everything as it pertains to teeth. So.
All right. So how was that? Put a little bit from you. How was that for some of the rest of us, focusing on our body, and how might that be helpful to some clients?
For me, it was a really positive experience. I think the first thing was like it's kind of like a grounding exercise. It just felt more relaxed. I think the second part that I really took away that I wasn't expecting is like I'm focusing on all the different things that like your body does for you. It makes me like appreciate it a little bit more. So I kind of like getting that out of it too.
Found this one easier to follow along and relax more, where I feel like some of the breathing or the shorter ones that you don't maybe talk and direct us through, I instantly get distracted and start thinking and looking at other stuff. Where this one, like as you kept going, I was like following with as you were talking. So it was good for my brain.
That's a great noticing. So for some people, I've done that where I've had people take home audio versions of things, where somebody's walking through, because I can teach the exercise and then they go home and they try to just coach themselves through it with the internal dialogue. And some people do that great, but other people having that voice walking through.
Yeah, I
can
need
be really
somebody to tell me what to do and then put it
helpful.
You should listen to Yoga Nidra.
Oh my god, I was just looking that up.
Yeah.
The guy with the Australian accent?
No, I find whatever one is time for my done because I have Yoga Nidra certification. But it's essentially that, but for an hour. And they've done like research on it, how it makes your brain go into like deeper cycles of sleep than like REM cycle, but so you're like kind of like fully awake and fully asleep. It's really interesting. But it gives you like excessive amounts of relaxation. But anyway, you can just turn it on, find it on YouTube and listen to it.
Can you text that in Discord?
I can.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a thought they want to share?
I agree with them. I don't like that one. I
Okay.
felt like, yeah, I was like, oh. I guess the bones. I'm like, no.
Whenever anyone
bones,
still
like-
lost me at the internal organ.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like,
I will not be feeling my liver today.
yeah,
Actually.
I'm not thinking of my intestines all lined up.
I was picturing all this stuff and it just bothered
It's
me.
like a skill too, and you're just like,
Yeah.
no.
Oh, I'm so
Like,
glad it wasn't
yeah,
just me.
That's funny.
This is why we asked the class
Yeah.
and recognize that. Yeah.
I also like I can't separate like the inside of my body feelings from the outside of my body feelings like at all. So like I was the whole time we were talking about our heads, both time I was just focusing on my teeth because I don't like my teeth. I don't like how they feel in my mouth. And I was just very focused on everything that's unpleasant that's going on with my body right now. And
Yeah.
I'm someone who deals with chronic pain, so that's always a bunch of stuff.
That's a good consideration, because
And,
sometimes doing exercises like this can put the focus on something that's negative for the
Yes,
person.
I was also
Yeah.
thinking about that in terms of dysphoria for trans folks. That probably, I don't like spending
Yep.
a lot of time with my body. Like, I feel better now, but like still, it just leads to a lot of anger and resentment for me. And also, for me, this one is too like passive. Like, I lose focus right away because it's just like, in your body. I'm like, okay, I do that all the time. Like when there's like a breathing or something, like that's a lot easier for me to latch on to. So, but I've done these before and I know they're not for me. But the other ones have been great. So,
Right, yeah.
like you said, not all.
We're
of them are for
proving.
me, yeah.
Again, I always tell my clients, half of my clients are going to like this set, half are going to like the other. And when I say that, I'm just cutting it in half, but it's a whole combination of things. So.
Well, because what's interesting is you two stayed in your chair too, right?
Mhm.
You didn't lie down.
Right.
I physically can't
I-
lie on the floor right now.
Yeah. And then we stayed in the chair
Yeah.
because I knew I was like, I'm not gonna be good at this. I'll just sit here. No, I suck at this. I'm just like, I'm not even gonna pretend like I know how to do this on the floor.
When I started treatment for some of my chronic pain,
Mhm.
we do this one a lot because they try to because what they're trying to do is kind of part and parcel out like how much of your pain is like from that source and how much of it is radial pain. And so we do a lot of exercises like this when you first start pain management treatment because they're trying to like pinpoint where it's at. And so I have had an obscene amount of time like thinking about my kidneys as somebody who went septic from a kidney infection. So like I'm good, but I could see where this would be like super helpful for some people. So just being like aware of like where your client is at, because some might be like super unattached from their body and it would be super helpful, or you may have folks, you know, like myself who are disabled and spend a lot of time with our bodies, or like me on like the trans mask spectrum. Sometimes I don't want to think about my genitals. I really don't. And so that's another consideration to have too. But overall, like there's times where I do it. Like it's so just because it wasn't a vibe today also doesn't mean it's not a vibe all the time.
Yeah.
However, it started this morning when I got dressed. Everything just feels bad today. Like
I immediately go to like, where are my kidneys? Where's my liver?
I was like, we were always told our heart's over here, and that's
You're
a
going
lie.
to your dog is here.
Yeah, no, it's closer to center.
Really?
It is closer to
Like,
center.
I'm
It's not
already
as
there.
far left as people think it is.
God.
Which makes sense because this is not very protective.
Yeah.
So another example of how, you know, yeah, things can go wrong. So I love that we're highlighting this is a nuanced thing. You have to learn your clients. Some things are helpful, others aren't. Because there was one time Susie was with a client. She was on her own that session, and I had never seen this client before. And Susie was asking questions and doing some stuff, and I'm doing my noticings, like, oh, okay, what am I seeing here, and what could be helpful? And Susie came back and was like, I need something, like, I need help here, like, what are you seeing, what could be helpful? And so I actually shared 2 or 3 things, like, well, you know, maybe you could try something like this, or this could be helpful for that client. And Susie kind of latched onto that, like, okay, that's what I'm going to do, and went back in and introduced the first thing, and the client was going to have nothing to do with it. So then Susie's like grabbing for the second thing. Client was going to have nothing. And I'm sitting there behind them, being like, oh no, what did I do? Because I didn't know the client. You know, it was my first time ever seeing the client. So I was giving things that for other people would have been really helpful. But then all of a sudden I realized, oh, this was the wrong client for any of that stuff. But you know, of course Susie's going to take what her supervisor said and kind of try to roll with it. So, but then we had the chance to process it afterwards. Like, I'm sorry. You learned something though, right? So that'll help you in the future.
Is there an I need an adult button in those rooms?
The phone.
They do have
You
the
just
phones.
the phone.
We haven't used them in years. We used to call each other on those.
Yeah, sure, that too.
Oh yeah, because didn't Kevin say like he used to like, or does he still like slide notes underneath the door?
Yep, they have done that.
Yeah.
I did that last night, yeah.
Was it you have to save someone?
No,
Okay.
they were having a debate over who the previous therapists were, and I knew exactly who the previous.
Oh,
so I just slipped
oh,
it
so that's
under the
real
door.
fast space. Yeah.
I like it.
But I've done notes before, like, you know, consider because literally, especially Anne, I've talked about Anne a lot in here. You know, she would see something, once you do something, that phone would get picked up, ring, scare the crap out of everybody. Answer the phone, have a little conversation. That's how that clinic's designed. Like, that was a tool back in the day, and I think for everybody's sake, we don't do that anymore, except
Oh, I can't.
there was one time did I tell you this story? A young boy was like wondering like what's behind the mirror. It was like up in the mirror and stuff like that. And then was like playing with the phone, like what does this do? And the therapist is trying to explain. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think they picked it up and then it rings on the other side. They put it back down. I picked it up. He bolted across the room. Oh no! You wanted to know. That was a fun moment. That could have gone really. I stopped there. I was like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But it was just so in the moment. He was having fun with it. I was like, oh, let's just pick up the phone. So.
Core memory.
Yeah.
Formed.
Or the ones who look through the mirror, they're like, somebody's there, you're sitting there. Hi. All right. So, one more. I'm scared. You shouldn't be scared, but I'm scared.
Okay.
Yeah. Because of what happened last time I did this. So, a relationship exercise as well. We've talked about how, like we talked about, like the Kevin Bacon game, and how things that, I'm impacting you in a small way today, well, you're going to go home and impact somebody else who's going to impact somebody else who's eventually impacting somebody across the world. There's an interconnectivity to us. And so, one exercise, as we try to, we're noticing how empathy and compassion are not, people who research that are like, it's going down. Where's empathy and compassion in the brain? Right side. Yep. The part that we don't tend to activate quite as much and participate in. So we're seeing a decrease in things like empathy and compassion. So one of the exercises Sequel has people do is kind of a compassion exercise, starting with a small circle and then extending that out. And so the idea here is, obviously we live in a world and none of us like everybody, right? But it's finding that part of us that can have compassion for and wish good and well and growth. I think most of us would probably say if we could somehow magically wave that solution-focused magic wand and have peace on earth, we'd probably try to find a way to do that where, with all of our differences, love and compassion kind of permeated. So starting to work on that, and I can think of some of our clients some of our therapists, when things that are highly negative towards others come up, would love to find good, appropriate therapeutic ways to try to explore and move into that. And so this is an exercise. It doesn't land well with everybody. so I'll just say it. We're going to start, with just yourself, the people in your world, your family. We're going to expand, like the Brofenbrenner, the circles that you're in. Well, I hit the state of Wisconsin, and a couple people lost it in class because, they were like, there are certain things and people in Wisconsin that I can't find a space to have compassion for, which I totally understand where they're coming from. And, therapeutically, we're going to be working with a lot, of diverse people. Unless you go somewhere that really niches and specializes in a very homogeneous group, we're going to have people that come from across the spectrum on all different sides. My personal belief is a well-trained therapist has learned how to work with a broad range of people. We don't just say, I work with this person, but not this person. That gets into our ethics, because then we could use that. People can use that all the time and just say, well, I'm not working with that person. I'm not working with those people. And that can be very damaging. So learning to do that. So, but this is, something, for us as therapists, for our clients that we have. So I just wanted to preface that and recognize that, because I wasn't anticipating that happening last year. I'm like, what is going on? I thought it would be a nice little fun, simple exercise, and it turned into something that we had to kind of process through. So I thought I'd get ahead of it this time and just kind of put it out there. So as best you can, if this is something you can join me in. Again, eyes open or eyes closed. I just want us to think about our relationships. This is relational integration. How are we integrating with the other people in our spaces, in our lives, in our world? So I just want you to think about the closest person to you. And think about having empathy and compassion for them and wishing them good in their life. No matter who they are and where they've come from, can you want good for them and positive growth? And think about those who are in your home environment. Can you want good things for them and wish them well? For those who are in your family of origin, your extended family, can you want good things for them and wish them well? For those who are in the town that you're from, can you want good things for them and to wish them well? To all members of our cohort here and staff who are here and not here, can you want good things for them and wish them well? To the state of Wisconsin or the state of Minnesota, thinking about all the people who inhabit those states. Can you want good things for them and to wish them well? To those who inhabit the country that we live in together, amongst all the 50 states, can you want good things for them and to wish them well? To the countries around the world, with all the differences in many different ways, can you want good things for all of them and to wish them well? To our planet as a whole, to the animals and the insects and the plants and the trees that we share this planet with, can you extend that to them, wanting good things and wishing them well? Again, take one last deep breath and come back to me. was that for people? Again, both the good and the bad, the easy and the hard.
I feel like it was easy to like imagine my family and see them, but then once it got to be a little bit bigger, like state-wise, I had a little harder time like visualizing it. And kind of felt like I was just sitting there with my eyes closed.
Okay, yeah.
But when I was visualizing people I knew, I was like actually visualizing the person and like wishing them well in my head, so it was easier to do it that way for me personally.
Yeah.
It was a mixed bag for me. I had a really easy time with the first few, and I actually had a super easy time with the like wishing land and animals in the world well, and even like other countries in our country in this state. It was my hometown that I had a really hard time with because I grew up in southeastern small town Midwest like Wisconsin, and it was terrible. But I don't feel like ill will towards any like specific person. It's like the area.
Yeah.
So when it was like your hometown, it was like But I was trying to think of like, there's no one individual that I blame for like the bad time I had there.
Yeah.
It's like the system of it.
Mhm.
So I was trying to think about people instead, and then that was easier for me
Yeah.
because like it's no one person's fault, and I want those people to be okay.
Yeah.
So that was helpful. It was really good. Other than that, like I think accessing my compassion for people I don't like is really important. And there's going to be people I don't like as a therapist. So I'm going to need to still have.
I guarantee you that. Yep. Mhm. To hold unconditional positive regard. And I don't know how much has that been talked about much
We just
here?
talked about that this morning.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yay. Because Jen actually asked me the question, like, how much does that get talked about? Like, that was probably over the top talked about when I was here. Jen and I were just kind of talking about, like what are the differences between, as the Guard has changed, like, because, they developed their whole way and structure and how things went, what really got focused on, and that's going to change when things change. So we were just kind of sitting back curious, like, I wonder what's changed. And she kind of brought that up, like, I wonder what unconditional positive regard, how that is going these days. So
That's funny because Molly brought that up too.
Mm.
So, and then she
was
out.
3 years after me.
Okay. But yeah, had like Terry Karras.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the one that you just did, have you guys ever done metta meditation or loving kindness meditation?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like a form of that. It's really similar. You go from wishing yourself these things to going external. And when I've done it, I am so relaxed right now. You guys I'm so stoned. Yeah, I'm just keep my eyes
What was in that
closed.
chocolate?
I know.
Not managed to go for later.
So when I've done like a guided, so like in the same way the body scan can be guided and it kind of helps you relax into it, you're less distracted. So when you were doing it, you were saying, can you think of positive things? And that is really good. I'm not criticizing you. That was really good. When I've done it, there's been like a mantra for each grouping. So it's been, and I can't find the one that I love, but it's kind of may you be healthy. So you're thinking about, let's say, let's not choose where you grew up. Let's choose.
You can choose where I grew up.
No, I don't want to choose that.
Like the word.
No,
They could be
like,
healthy, I
let's,
guess.
so our cohort, may you be healthy, may you be well, may you be light and happy, may you be safe. And you say that a couple of times, and so you can actually like think of each of those types of things for that grouping, and then you move on. And so I find it easier to concentrate on well-wishing in a less vague way.
I probably made it a little bigger because I haven't done that one in a while, and I'd have to go back and listen to the exact words he used it, so I just kind of did my own. It might actually be more specific because I think he actually uses the term kind of loving kindness, and I didn't use that. Once you said, I was like, oh yeah, I think that's actually the word he might use there.
Yeah.
So
I love that shit they say as they're talking about them and loving other people.
Yeah, love that shit.
Yeah.
I think it's helpful for me to do. I do the opposite, to, like very acknowledge my unhappy feelings about it, and that paves the way to like help the happy ones come in. And so it's like this, the extremes of it help bring more like relaxation and peace about it. I don't know.
But really bringing it into the therapy room as we're all, you're being trained. I'm constantly retraining myself as a therapist because think about how easy. I mean, I've watched a lot of therapy. It's like any profession. You get too many years in, it's easy to become a little crotchety. Like, people never want to change and this, that, or the other. But I will never forget, and I have to really try to. I need to be careful with this one. I know more information than I probably should. They're no longer here. There was a client that was here at the clinic, and I was told by some people who are now currently on my staff, so different people have had this client at different times, and they were watching like you all are during their first year, and they were watching two therapists work with this person, and you could feel the tension, and sessions weren't going well. And they processed with this therapist, these two therapists afterwards, and like, so do you like this client? And guess what the therapist's response was?
No.
No, and like dramatically, like no, and they just kind of went off, and it kind of floored them because, I mean, they were still with the old guard, and I knew how that stuff was talked about. Though Jen said it might have gotten a little bit less in the end because there's a lot of other things being focused on, but. What they told me was like they really noticed how they could tell in therapy and how that was impacting the therapeutic process. And so then actually one of those people ended up getting assigned to that case and remembered that experience and went in with what is my role? It's unconditional positive regard for this client and really worked to maintain that. Now there were frustrating things with this client, but they worked really hard to maintain that. And basically the feedback that came was it was amazing to see the shift in how the therapy process went when there was unconditional positive regard. And then when I came on the scene, and I had heard enough of the story, and then I first got behind the mirror, I'm like, oh, I know which client this is actually, because I had heard about this previously, and it was really beautiful to watch. I think that therapist having changed that with co-therapists and then passing on to the new ones that came on, the enjoyment, even though this client had a lot of challenges that they brought to the therapist, the way the therapist approached it, I think made some really significant progress over time. And so that just really sticks in my mind as just an example of the difference, the way therapy can go. Because like we're saying, we're all going to have people who say something in session that we're just going to be like, ugh, like that does not fit with us, that does not feel good, but we're still their therapist. And how do we manage our own internal place and say, and my role is still with unconditional positive regard to help them maybe develop a little bit of the relational side of what we're talking about. So, all right. Let's do one more 10-minute break.
Okay.
So till 5 after, and then we can get to today's material.
It was very educational,
which
Brian.
actually isn't really long. So.
That's good.